All right. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I'm Sue Fillion. I'm the planning director for the town. And we are here tonight to talk about the Green Street and at High Street intersection improvement project. First thing first, let me get my notes. The meeting is being taped by BCTV. It's not live, but there will be a recording of it and we will put it up on the town website. So it'll be available for people to view if they couldn't make it tonight. And we'll probably also have an input form on the new town website. It's brattleboro.gov if you haven't been there yet, so you can check that out. So the purpose of tonight is I wanted to show you two concept plans that engineers that we've been working with have come up with for this intersection. Over the years, we've had lots of complaints, and I'll go through kind of the issues with the current arrangement of it. So I want to hear what are the things you like about it, what do you think the things that you don't like, some preferences, there's some options in here, and also make sure that it's addressing maybe the concerns that you have. And so we have been working with SLR Consulting and their transportation engineers on this project. Basically, we'll take the feedback that we get from the public tonight and afterwards, and we'll give it back to SLR. They're not here with us tonight, so hopefully I'll be able to answer as many questions as you have. If not, I will get back to you with them. And then they'll kind of refine the design before we finalize it. And then we'll go about figuring out how we're gonna construct it, any changes. So to start, we're not a very big group, so just to get a pulse of who is here, could you raise your hand if you're a resident of this neighborhood? Okay. And how about a business owner? Excellent. And how about a property owner? Which might be some of the same as residents. Yeah. And how about work at the school or associated with the school in any way? All right. And other interested people?
Other local busybodies.
Yeah. All right, great. I just also wanted to point out that Dan Tyler is here. Dan is our Public Works Director as well, and so we've been working a little bit on this project. Okay. I have a short presentation and then we'll just kind of get into it. The project location, you are mostly all from the neighborhood, so you know where it's located. Exit 2 is off this way, and downtown is this way on the map. And this is a plan view of the intersection as it is now. There's sidewalks going down Green Street and High Street. We've got the Pearl lot here. There is a painted island in the center of the intersection. Let's see, some other features of it. Traffic counts, so on Western Avenue, there's about 8,700 cars daily, give or take. That's kind of the traffic flow on Western Avenue. On High Street, it's upwards of 6,000 daily. And on Green Street, I've seen anything from 2,000 to 3,000. So that kind of varies, and it can vary, obviously, whether or not school's in session. Some of the complaints that we've had, that we've collected, either through the Traffic Safety Committee, which is a committee of the town where people can fill out a form online and submit concerns that they have about maybe our roads, pedestrian, bicycle infrastructure. Some of the complaints that we've gotten there, as well as when we did our bike walk action plan, was that there are no crossings in this area. You have to go a far distance. If you go down to, if you're in this area, it's about 900 feet to Oak Street, which is where the crosswalk to the east is, and then up to Union Hill, it's approximately 536 feet. So there's no crossing there. We've also had concerns about bicycle safety in this area, and the big one I would say that we hear about is the speeds on Green Street. There is just nothing to calm the traffic. And if you look at the design, you can basically come straight off Western Ave and cruise on down Green Street. And so I just have a couple of pictures. You're all familiar with the existing conditions, but I just did want to show you some of the pictures of Green Street. So this is the intersection up here with the painted island. As you look down Green Street, you have Green Street School. And then it's a very residential neighborhood. I think that's an important aspect of what we're to remember with what we're trying to do here. And this is kind of High Street. Again, you see this like wide expanse of pavement. That's Green Street, High Street. This is looking west on High Street. Haviland's is here on the left. You've got this retaining wall and kind of a curve going around up to Western Avenue. And obviously I didn't want you to think I didn't know about the school drop-off and pickup. These are actually pictures of today. So what I had observed, and you probably have other observations, is that there's definitely cars that are parking along the Crow lot. Most of what I saw there is people get out of their cars and probably walk down to the school. And then, there's definitely this kind of double parking here on Green Street that backs up to the intersection. So that was on pickup today. So when we were working with the engineers, the kind of the feedback that we gave them, or the concepts that we wanted them to deal with in the design was, and this is in no particular order, but calming traffic as it enters Green Street, really trying to slow down cars as they make their way onto Green Street. Crosswalks, because we heard a lot about not having space to cross, space for bicycles, and improving the traffic visibility if you're coming off of Green Street and you're entering onto High Street. That can be a little tricky, as many of you might know. So now we will get into kind of the overall concept layout. So you should have a copy of this one. This is LA01. It's got the red, yellow, and green on it. It's the only one with red. It's kind of pulled out. The red is the parking lane that's in front of the Kroll lot. Green is indicating bike lane, and yellow is indicating some version of island. So what you're seeing in the overall concept is that we'd be maintaining street parking on Kroll lot in all the concepts that we'll look at. We're adding crosswalks both across Green Street here at the top, as well as across High Street. And there's going to be an option for a different location for the crosswalk. And there's going to be a slight modification to the painted island. So the yellow you'll see here is just kind of shifted a little bit.
But that's paint, so the yellow, it's painted island there still in this version?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
This is kind of the overall layout of it.
Okay.
We'll get to that. There's an option where it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. The traffic calming features of this are bike lanes can be traffic calming. The crossing island here in the middle of this island, it does two things. It can be safer for pedestrians who need to make that cross. It narrows up the lanes, so narrowing lanes is a way to slow down traffic. And then there's also this island here that kind of bumps out kind of as a kind of a bump out curb extension. We have other ones in town. Public Works just did one at the intersection of Maple Street and Fairview, kind of narrowing those wider intersections. And what it does here is kind of forces more of a turn, definitely more than exists, because like I said, you can just kind of off ramp straight. So these are the concepts, and obviously maintaining the sidewalks that are there.
I have a question.
Yes,
So the big yellow part would actually make the road less wide?
yes, it would.
So it'd just be like grass there or something?
We're gonna look at two options. It could be kind of asphalt, it could be, but it also could become a planted area. Yeah. And then just another word about the crosswalks, particularly the ones on High Street. You know, they've been designed with consideration of the sight lines. If you're in that crosswalk crossing it, you want to make sure that you're visible to the users of the roadway. So, so we'll talk a little bit about that, but that was a consideration of where they located them.
I have another question about
Sure.
the other one. So with that extended yellow, the big section, does that mean if somebody's coming from Western Ave and they're going on to Green Street, they wouldn't have a straight shot and they'd have to slow down and be a more deliberate turn?
Correct. Yes. Yep. So whether they're coming this way, or if they're coming west up to Western Avenue, they would come and then make that turn.
Have they looked at how these conditions will be affected in all of our seasons? One of the concerns that we had was that that looks like a pretty hard turn to make coming off of Western Ave in icy conditions in the winter.
I will put that down. I mean, I'm sure, in terms of turning radiuses, they're definitely looking at that. Can the buses make it? Can the plow trucks, can the fire trucks make it? They're definitely looking at that. I can talk to them about that. Yes.
So with the big yellow section, would that mean that people wouldn't be able to park like they do now for the school?
Correct. Yeah, they would definitely lose some parking in this area, but there would still be parking.
But they wouldn't be able to park on that section because it would stick out into the road too much?
Yes. Yep. So this is the first concept. If you look in the corner of the maps or the site plans that I gave you, if you look down, there's a C01 in the bottom right-hand corner, so that's the first concept. So here they're proposing raised islands. So, it could be asphalt, it could be planted, however we want to do. So the grade area, both this kind of curb extension as well as the island, there would be a 5-foot pedestrian path through the island. And in this design, the bicycle lanes kind of would, kind of the preference would be that bicycles are going down High Street. The bike lane would not continue though. We could add sharrows, which are kind of a painting marking that indicates that bicycles and vehicles should be sharing the road. The crosswalk is up here, further east of the intersection. It would be a mid-block crossing, which, we have them in town. If we were doing a mid-block crossing, we might want to consider some other safety feature like the flashing beacons that you sometimes see. That's sometimes recommended for mid-block crossing, so that would probably be appropriate there. You definitely get the narrowing here at the intersection, and then coming out. So, yeah. Are there any questions on this first concept?
I have a question too.
Yes.
Was the thinking in changing the crosswalk, have they looked at who crosses to get to the school and whether it would be beneficial to have it before Green Street or after?
We did not look at, we didn't do a crosswalk count to see where people are crossing or how many people are crossing. they did this based on sightlines. And of the alternatives that you're gonna see, this actually has the best sightline.
So I was gonna say, I live in a house that is right behind the garage, and I have this full view. And there's a lot of people who park on High Street at that end of where the sidewalk is on there, and then cross both our properties often. But it is quite scary watching people cross, but there is nowhere else to cross because they're parking on High Street and that's where they park. So in my mind, that sight line is better, and it's a much more representative place of where people actually park and cross to get to the school. Further up is scary for sight lines. It would be slightly better with a crosswalk, but still scary, and it's nowhere near any parking.
That one's
This
way
one?
unsafe.
Yeah.
You're saying is,
Worst.
yeah.
And it's also just far from where people are going to be parking to be picking up from
If
school.
somebody was crossing in a wheelchair there, you wouldn't see them coming down Western Ave.
Okay.
You
I
wouldn't see
mean,
them.
they did say the other one further east has the better sight line. This is the extent as it could go, because I did ask them, what about putting a crosswalk on the western? They said absolutely not with the retaining wall and the, no. Yes.
So another point that I want to bring up is they'd have to walk more in order to get to the other side of the street. And realistically, people aren't going to do that. Parents are either late or they're right on time, and they're going to be in a rush to get their kids. So they're just going to cut through our yard. So I don't think that's a helpful point or a helpful place for the crosswalk.
That one.
Which one?
Yeah, this one.
This one.
The other one's better.
They're just going to keep crossing.
They're just going to
by,
keep
yeah.
crossing because it's
That's where
shorter.
we would cross, even if the crosswalk is there, because that's
Yeah.
not safe.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. This is really great feedback.
Plus that one, when you think about what it crosses you to, very few people are going up that street to there. You know, is it Upper
true.
Forest? Isn't that Upper
That's
Forest?
Chestnut.
It's Chestnut, but it's like, it's a very low residential neighborhoods, and I don't know if there's kids who live up in that area, but we're in that area, but people I would think that, again, that mid-block one seems to be would catch more of the real crossers.
Yeah.
Unless people were crossing over to the Crow lot, but they're more likely to do that on Union Hill, I would think.
Yeah, there already is a crosswalk there.
Union Hill.
We have a lot of people cut through our yard to go to the Crow lot and go up to the park.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are just going to keep cutting.
Where you're.
I'm the business that's right in the little triangle.
Oh, it had one.
Yes.
Okay.
I have another question. It looks like in all of the proposals, part of the plan was to cut parking. In all of them, it looks like some of the parking is gonna have to be cut.
Yes.
It's already chaos, to be frank, in that intersection during drop off and pickup. My kids don't go to Green Street School, but I know at the school that they do go to, their parents are encouraged to park and walk because it's less chaotic having cars around children. If we take away parking, how is that gonna work for the school that's right there, and where are people gonna park to pick up their children?
So,
It comes.
oh yeah, I
Do you
can
wanna go
address it
ahead?
really though, because I work at Green Street, and so over the year, and I've been there a long time, over the years, we have encouraged parents to park on High Street, but we've also encouraged them to park further down Green Street and walk up, you know, just like
Yeah.
past the school and go down.
There was
park and
definitely
come up.
that was happening.
Yeah,
I
but
noticed
there's,
as well.
yeah, so,
Yeah, and I guess I want to say, I mean, yes, we're losing parking. In fact, with this crosswalk location, we'd probably lose some on High Street because you want to maintain a certain
Yeah.
distance from the crosswalk. However, you know, our goal is to calm traffic, and these treatments, you know, help do that because there's less cars. You know, the cars that are there have to slow down. They're, you know, the visibility becomes better because they're not parking in the intersection. And you know, some of that balance is going to need to be decided on. You know, the school, it's 2 times a day for a short period of time, not all year long, balancing the desires and the peacefulness of the residences as well.
I
But
also
they're
wonder
definitely
if
the
it's really
trade-offs.
more the afternoon traffic, not the morning traffic. In other words, morning traffic, I bet parents do more drop off and then
That's
leave,
right, yeah.
but in the afternoon, they park and wait for them to come out. I bet, right? Yeah.
Another issue we have, because I'm right at Haviland's, is people park in our yard and just
Yeah.
leave their cars. And then when they come back, they're running to get back to their cars. Like, I have to go out there and be like, hey, you can't park here, it's a business. And it's fine if we're not busy, but we're always really busy. So like,
I saw a lot of people cutting through your lot.
Yeah.
See it happen.
Yeah.
And I try to be nice about it, but they also cut through super fast and kids are gonna get hit and we've almost hit kids. Kids have almost ran into cars.
Cars left haphazardly running.
Yeah.
In your lot.
People have almost
Yeah.
backed into
Yeah.
us, like someone almost hits one of my workers. So it's just kind of dangerous if we cut off the parking because that's just gonna increase. It already happens enough.
I just wanted to see. So I'm just kind of curious because it is kind of all paved all the way to there. I know that there's, driveway break here, driveway break here. Would you have any interest in kind of narrowing up the access points?
No, we already have to squeeze in cars, so there's no way we could do that.
You're not asking about the actual parking, you're talking about the
curb cuts, so that it would make it more difficult.
We already have customers hit the curbs all the time. It's just,
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious, it's something that, maybe we could have looked at that maybe would help some of those problems, but, yeah.
So you've got people dropping their cars off,
Yeah.
waiting for your service.
yeah, we have people
That's where
either
a lot
dropping
of
their cars off or they have an appointment and they can't even get in because cars are flying through, or we have to back a car out of the bay because we're a business, we're in it to make money and we have to get a certain amount done and it ends up lining up.
I've seen parents leave their cars in your lot.
Yeah.
And then they walk down, and then they're like, oh, I'm just going down for a minute.
Yeah, and I don't mind if people ask, like, every once in a while. However, like, this isn't a parking spot for people, this is a parking spot for our customers.
Yeah.
Josh, did you have a question? And then I'm gonna
I just was wondering, because it's not in any of the concepts, and I was just was there a consideration for having the bike lane move through the corridor and not be down High Street and encourage people to use Green Street as the bike arterial to get downtown instead of High Street?
Yes.
Instead
the next concept.
of having the bikers go follow the median around, like let's start encouraging a bike lane. Let's build it into the median like they do in any other place. And then if there's somebody in the crosswalk, the biker has to stop at the crosswalk. And lots of cities are like that, where the median will bump out, but the bike lane will continue straight. Say the arterial for bikes is now Green Street.
So you're
Slower traffic,
suggesting
less cars on Green
Yes.
Street,
Bike
like
lanes,
thousands. You just said so.
Yes.
I mean, that's major, I think.
Yeah.
It avoids the pinch point of a car
I mean,
or a big truck turning.
I've had 10 years to watch. We live right there, like 2 doors down from Haviland's, and I've seen pretty much every variation of an accident that could happen. We're close to it. So, the bikes crossing that section, if the bike traffic is encouraged to go down High Street, it gets hairy. People are looking to make that turn, and there's a bike coming, and they don't realize that biker's going to keep going down High Street.
And it's downhill, so they're gonna
And the bike's like, I've got speed, I'm going with traffic, I'm cruising along. It's a really dangerous spot. I've nearly gotten hit there. That bike lane, I feel like, should not be going with the traffic, making that turn, because then the car's turning and the bike's trying to make that turn. It should go straight down Green Street. I don't know, that's my opinion.
If you're not using we're not putting the crosswalk there and it's further down, you've got the capacity to do that without getting in the way of pedestrians by putting that cut through for the bike lane. So I think it would be, because I live in that same place, I've seen it.
So I have you in the back, then you in the pink, and then Prudence. I'm sorry, I don't know your names.
Oh, I'm Andrea, and can I defer my question? Well, I want to ask a question directly to Alice first on this last point about the bike lane, and then I have something else. Just because I know you cycle over here. If people are going to, trying to get to Putney Road, by bicycle, what would their normal path be?
High Street.
High Street and then
High Street to
Oak.
Oak. Yeah.
So it would really split.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's what it would be. So in this concept, as a parent, my concern is it's sending a child in the vicinity of Haviland's is just dangerous. you know, it's, you have tow trucks coming in there, you have people with cars barely functioning sometimes. They're just trying to get there. They're not looking for a 4-foot-high person crossing into essentially a gigantic parking area. I don't think that's safe. On the other concept, can I come up and point out
Sure,
another
so
idea?
just so that I can understand that point, you're concerned about the crosswalk location here because people
Because you
will come
come
through?
into a parking lot where vehicles frankly do go right over the curb a lot of times coming
Is
out
that
of there.
directly across from where the opening is for the business? Like where the crosswalk
No,
location
it's
is?
not. It's just to the west of it. So the opening is here and here, and this would be a new ADA. So it's just off the entrance, the more eastern entrance.
I mean, if Haviland wants to sell their property and like become a public park, that would be fabulous, but.
We didn't go over this concept yet, but did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, because I walked this morning. These, as everyone's pointed out, the sightline here is not great. It's pretty terrible, but on the current sidewalk. But if you could push the sidewalk out so it landed here at the edge of the, current.
Like bump it out a little bit?
Bump it out, you can drastically improve the sight line if you can just get it out to there. And I think that would be much more functional in terms of getting any people across to really where they're going. They're not going to Haviland by walking. They're either going to the park or they're gonna try to get to the other side of Green Street to go to the school anyway.
Thank you. Okay.
We live on Cedar Street, and there's 2 stop signs there, and very few people stop at the stop signs. A lot of it is tourists that are coming to Weston Avenue or going through, and so they don't know that there's a stop sign left. So I really strongly believe that these stop signs should be flashing stop signs. And the other thing is to find out what GPS says, how to get to, say, Weston Avenue or whatever. Because a lot of the GPS on Cedar Street, it's cut through to Cedar Street through the GPS. Not to go through Weston Avenue, more down to the ski jump area and stuff like that. And I think that nobody's gonna see those stop signs or stop. I didn't even know that there was a stop sign.
The stop sign you're talking
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theirs?
Yeah. And I also agree on the Haviland thing. I bring my car there. And there are so many people just walking through that parking lot, not paying any sort of attention. And it's a business. So, it's not for walking through that space.
Andrea, then Liz?
I'll just comment on the flashing stoplights as a resident. They're incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
Incredibly annoying all night long.
Yeah.
You will spend thousands of dollars on light blocking curtains if you get those installed in your neighborhood, because we have one right down the street. What Cedar Street needs is other traffic calming devices. The tourists cut through there because it's faster.
When you were talking about a blinking, so on Canal Street, as you go north, so if you're coming down Canal Street and you're gonna go up Main Street, at the intersection with South Main, there's some LED lights that are around the stop sign there.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that, or are you talking about the push button at a crosswalk? That, I think, Andrew, you're talking about the
No,
rapid.
at High and Oak, there's a hanging over.
There's a hanging flashing red
Yes.
light.
Which does nothing.
Oh,
Like,
it's-
people know the
It's
stop
on.
sign's there, they just ignore it.
No, I was just thinking of an LED around.
Around it.
But
Liz?
Can you
I
ask
know,
the,
I don't, that would be annoying.
can you ask the traffic engineer for any suggestions to prevent pedestrians from walking through the garage parking lot?
I can.
Big nasty dog.
We've got a pet cat next door, but she's not doing a very good job.
I'll bring in my cat.
Yeah. But once, you know, once the pedestrian route is established, then maybe they could think of something.
When it's not your side, your walkway.
Alice?
Oh yeah, my house gets.
Oh, pretty, sorry.
I was just gonna say back to the bike lane issue. I think going down Green Street's great as long as you want to get down to that part of Main Street, but otherwise, I think we need bike lanes on High Street as well. But for the bike lane, you know, the option with going down Green Street, can it be on the protected side of like those I think those are planters?
Yeah, I'll feed that
Okay.
as, definitely heard that one. Yes.
I just wanted to mention one more thing. The crosswalk on the left there, the one that goes straight across Western Ave right before. My concern is that the spot to enter, that's all the way on the right.
By the curl.
By the curl lot, like the down, yeah.
Yep.
Are cars gonna see people standing there waiting to cross? Because I know that that's part of the problem on Elliott Street is that there's like all those sections blocked off. And so it's really hard to see people waiting to cross until they like speed past. And then like people are slamming on their brakes trying to stop for them. And my concern is just cars that are going down Western Avenue are focused on those two lanes. And if we put a bike lane in, that bike lane next to them, not all of that space that's gonna be empty on the right.
Well, I hear you, and I think that folks would start to notice people closer to where the planters are as you're crossing the actual street rather than in that kind of pedestrian island. But I would like to suggest one of those push buttons like, hey, there's people here, everybody, whoa, all right?
Yeah.
The rectangular rapid flashing beacons as a good option there. And hoping that the lights, I think some of our lights in town are up higher than others. And I think the ones that are lower do a better job at letting the car traffic know that people are around.
Let me just walk through, we've been talking about this one, but I haven't walked through this concept because this one just uses paint and other stanchions and planters. So this, either it could be a quick build, but you know, if you like the permanency of the raised island, you know, it would be good to hear from you. But so this one, it still does that curb extension, but it's done through planter boxes, whatever they might look like, and stanchions. So kind of the stanchions are every 10 feet in that area. We've used stanchions elsewhere in town when we were kind of trying out the intersection changes at Maple and Fairview. They can be in the ground, they can be built to kind of be knocked over, and they certainly have been in different locations. So definitely a lot less permanent. And this one is actually, you know, kind of, it does continue bike access down High Street, but really puts the bike lane down Green Street. So that's the difference here. There is no change to this island. Well, I mean, it remains painted in kind of that newer configuration, but with a crosswalk over there. And, you know, obviously we pointed out this is the more westerly location for a crosswalk. Really, the parts and pieces that you see on the two concept plans are interchangeable, so getting good feedback. David.
For school pickup, for the half hour in the morning and the half hour in the afternoon drop off and pickup, the area along Green Street there where it's plantered out, the cars parents park all the way up to was this covered already?
Yeah, I have some pictures of it, yeah. I mean, there'd definitely be a loss of parking. Most of what I had noticed, at least in the afternoon drop-off, is that the parents are parking and walking down.
Yep.
And then there's some that are double parking on Green Street. This is the other crosswalk location that we were talking about that would also result in the loss of some parking just to make that visible. We're gonna go from left to right, so Josh.
Just some thoughts on the painted versus the island. Having, been right there and watched traffic a lot, what particularly happens in the early morning hours and the evening hours, and it's really tough because in the winter, people, it's just like it's dark, so they just cruise down there. That's like they'll expect to see people. But what I'll see oftentimes when traffic starts coming in the early morning or in the evening, going back, mornings, if it's just a painted line, people are going to fly that corner as fast as they can. Oftentimes it's truck traffic too, first thing in the morning. And then the other thing is going up. A lot of people speed out of Green Street. And because it's such a weird intersection where you're trying to like shoot the gap of when you can see down the right and when you can barely see the car coming on the left, people will just gun it straight through. So I guarantee most of like the traffic that I hear that goes 35 plus on the street is we'll cut that median right off. Like they're gonna drive right over that. Yeah, versus the raised. That's my feedback on that. So, and just the other thing would be, there's no difference in the opening size when this painted version. So why wouldn't we compress the opening to the road to really try to make the turn in a turn in? And why even have a painted island? Because really, that's not even really the best spot for people to cross. They should cross down by the point and like perpendicular to the Green Street, you know what I mean? Like, not follow the contour of the road and then jog over. They should go perpendicular from like right where Crow Lot and the building for the school ends and then to the point. You'd be encouraged to not cross Haviland's, but like, to use a crosswalk right there, because now there's nothing. So, I mean, if anything, improvement's huge right now. But like, the painted jog of the crosswalk doesn't seem, like, why wouldn't we compress
Yeah, I
the
see what you're
opening to
saying,
the
like,
road? Yes.
pump it out even further
Exactly.
and make it a 2-lane.
Yeah, like, so come all the way out to those 4 dots, like
If it's
those
painted.
those left 4 green dots. Yeah, that one, go to the right one, go to the right. Go
If it's a
That's
painted.
up.
Can I-
If that was actually the curb edge, and a car then had to make its turn down, and then you wouldn't need 2 crosswalks across the street, because the street would actually be much.
You could have a wider of a crosswalk,
You could have
actually.
one.
There could
So-
be-
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say there, the advantage of having the split island is that, you can get it even narrower. So, I mean, then, this is probably going to be, 211 or 10-foot travel lane, so that's going to be,
Yeah.
So I'll just.
But I hear what you're saying about the
Yeah.
painted island.
Just because I do this all the time. If you're coming west on High Street and trying to turn left onto Green Street, you really have to get pretty far west in order, because of the elevation change. You have to get pretty far west
Oh, I know.
to be able to see if there's oncoming
True.
traffic to turn left onto Green Street.
Absolutely. No, that's a very good point.
That's fine.
It's true. Because you can't see. You
So
can't
if
see
you
the cars
squish it
coming.
down,
You're right.
you wouldn't
Absolutely.
safely be able to
Like,
turn.
I drive
Which
a
a lot of
minivan, but a
buses-
sedan couldn't see that.
So
Problem.
you were saying
know?
if you were coming High Street and turning left onto Green?
Yeah, into.
You're saying you
into the
need to get
correct
up
lane.
further?
You're pointing of the other way, but yes.
You have to go higher up the hill.
It's better this way to come up the hill. It's that
Yes,
same
you
issue
have
with the
to, because
crosswalk.
you
Yeah.
I
can't,
understand.
you're otherwise staring at the hill.
Okay. There were lots of hands. We go Liz, then Alice.
I was just thinking that if you did it in a phased manner and you did the painted version, and then people could see that it works before you did the raised area, that might be helpful. Because the painting is so much cheaper that it could get done sooner. And then you see if that's the right way before you built a lot of stuff.
I mean, I don't know. It definitely could be built quicker. I don't know if you would get the parking without the other stanchions and everything else, but. Yeah. Alice.
So several things. One, the crosswalk, the good thing is I feel like it would take away less direct obvious coming to Havilands and crossing over. I'm just saying it, but let's just say, it seems to me that it at least brings people over further. And then to Andrea's point about the bump out, though you'd still want to think about bicycles if they were coming up High Street, you wouldn't want them to all of a sudden hit a bump out like what happens at Oak Street is really not great. What you'd want is, if you have the bump out, a cut through for the cyclists so that they don't have to be pushed into traffic, which is dangerous.
Well, I was thinking of if essentially the curve of the road could be modified so that there's,
Oh, yes.
more stuff on the north
Right.
side, and the road, all the travel lanes, everything shifts a little bit further south. Because it's the retaining walls
Right.
that are killing the sightlines.
Right. Yeah. I also think, I really have to, I really want to, I'm very against the paint only option. Painting it's just like a suggestion to a motorist. It's not, you have to do this. A stanchion and flower box is you have to do this. And curbing, of course, would too, but curbing, it does get expensive, and I'm not sure you need it, because the stanchions and boxes could be quite effective, and you can see through them, so that and bicyclists could actually hug the Crow a lot side if they wanted to go down Green Street. If the stanchions, if some of them were put at a certain distance, you could just slip through, and it wouldn't have to be something specially done. It would be thought of ahead, but not special. So anyway.
Yes.
One issue that I have, after a certain age, it's hard to turn your head in certain directions, your neck isn't as supple as it used to be. If you're coming out of Green Street and you want to turn, especially left, I'm just wondering, the yellow island, if you could cut off a little on the left, would that make the angle a little easier so you wouldn't have to turn the neck as much to see the traffic coming?
You're suggesting cutting it here?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if that would make a significant difference in how far you have to turn the neck.
I think it makes it work. Like, this way you're only looking 90 degrees right and 90 degrees left instead of.
I can pose that question. I think that that most intersections are 90 degrees. Well, that's kind of the safest intersection, and so that's the thought behind that design. David.
And again, I wasn't here for all of this, so I don't know if this was discussed, but what about, has there been any conversation or thought about turning Green Street one way, only going down, and then any traffic coming up would have to turn at Whipple to get to High Street?
No, there has not been a conversation about that tonight. I think it's been suggested in the past.
I'm sure it's on the agenda.
I think.
I don't think the fire department's involved with it.
I was going to say, I think it's a safety.
Yeah.
It's Whipple and Bullock.
And then it would be a position on Whipple.
Yeah. I think it's come up over the years.
Okay. Because the big problem here is the Green Street westbound traffic, right? Because coming down from Western onto Green Street, that's easy. It's this Green to High Street turn.
And I think there could be design choices to where Green Street could be one way and that intersection be left for EMS, fire, plows, etc. But that would take a lot of doing and somebody to be actively stationed at that intersection saying, no, you can't come this way anymore. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about the bike travel lane down to Green Street, and I think Alice's point is correct, and I was back and forth on suggesting could it Y there so you could continue kind of traveling straight across that island down Green Street, But if there's a bike lane there and it's not going to be enforced parking wise, I would be concerned that parents would just use that bike lane. Yeah, if the bike lane came, so if this stayed, but there was a lane that kind of continued on here, if this wasn't an impediment to cars, I feel like cars would use that as a, hey, now I have an extra safe spot to park.
No, it would have to just be bicycle size.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
So if it was a raised island there, then there would need to be an additional
Right.
hopeful cutout for bikes to kind of hop that curb, so to speak.
So a thought that just occurred to me, which I think is it's worth thinking about. Whatever crosswalks we end up adding into this whole situation, the school is going to end up needing more staff for doing more crossing guards. And with that, what occurred to me is you're going to have crossing guards in this situation to bring people not walking across our properties for a start, which is going to be helpful. But with that, there's going to be at least 2 new crossing guards needed for Green Street in this situation, because we'd have the crossing guards in the middle here and the crossing guards either west or east, which is going to control people, but also I don't know how much you've spoken to the school, because whether they actually have the ability to put on 2 new crossing guards.
Yeah, I've not had that conversation with them. I did send the plans to the Green Street principal and the superintendent, and they both acknowledged receipt, so.
But
I mean, that'll have to be,
But the inclusion of the crossing guards in those situations will make our lives much nicer in those school
I need to
times.
think about the crossing.
Yeah.
Okay. I think okay, yeah, and then, you had your hand first, so you first.
Sorry. I'm a landscape designer and I look at the planter boxes and I think it's a great idea that it's pretty and wonderful and naturalizing and on, but it's incredibly difficult to maintain them, and especially in the winter, and extremely difficult to keep them looking good. I mean, that's a very expensive project. And as you know, Brattleboro, the man who has been doing it for a long time, has given up. And I think that...
He retired.
He retired. That's, yes, he told me that. He retired. I just think that it will be a very expensive project to make it look good. And I would like to, I think it's a good idea, but it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and I'd love
And
to
people hit them all the time and crack them open and
I have a
on
few
and on.
questions anyway.
Yeah, those are all flower boxes.
Could they be potentially just the concrete barriers and then art be on them? Then you wouldn't lose any visual stuff depending on the growing season too for the plants.
That's a good idea.
So my comments related to that, I would like to advocate that instead of just merely a raised thing like you put in at the corner of High and Oak, that actually become an extension of the gravel lot. Meaning that it is planted, naturally. I'd advocate especially to put a shade tree back on High Street. In the 1950s, they widened this road. We lost a tremendous number of shade trees. Shade trees are the most cost-effective way of reducing climate change. And if we're gonna narrow the road, let's bring back the trees.
Yeah, I think that's good planter boxes for trees.
So I have a few things. The first is about the raised versus the painted. The painted no one's gonna listen to, but with the raised, there's more of a hazard there for cars, especially in the winter. People are gonna slide, especially if the roads aren't properly maintained. We've had people run into the building before. So I feel like
They're driving too fast.
the raised, like the snow's not gonna help that. If they hit it, then they could lose control easily. So that's another thing to keep in mind as opposed to the raised. Raised is gonna slow them down more, but painted safer. The next thing was about the planters. If you do decide to go with the planters, there's gonna need to be someone to maintain it because right past where that, where the little mark that says may use full lane for the bike. There's a bunch of trash right by the hill, so I feel like it's just gonna end up in those planters. And that would be kind of pointless, because it's just gonna make it look worse. And Brattleboro doesn't need that. And I don't remember what my other one was. But I like the idea of the crosswalks, instead of it cutting through, being at the point across like this. I think that's a lot safer.
Can you show where the crosswalk would be?
Yeah.
The other one?
I think it would be better if the crosswalk was like here, as opposed to here, because when you're turning off, you're not looking here. You're gonna be looking here to see when people are turning, you know?
I'm sorry, can you show me again where you think it should be?
Crosswalk should
There.
be here, in my opinion. Instead
So
of it cutting
not
through.
all the way down here, you're saying
Yeah,
here?
this is gonna be more dangerous, because that's just gonna encourage people to walk through, like my neighbor said. This is a lot safer because it encouraged them to take a few extra steps as opposed to crossing through different traffic, if that makes sense.
Is there a reaction from the?
I think too, with the High Street Western traffic, people accelerate up that hill into that curve. And people coming through from Western are also, so there's a lot of high speed there right at that curve point. So if you have a longer sight distance by having I think you have a decent sight distance.
This is the best sight
Correct.
distance.
Yeah.
This was the extent of where it could be.
Right.
This was a no-no.
Right.
So I would imagine in here, there is probably the sight distance. It's not as good as this, but it's better than this.
Yeah.
I think they probably, usually you want to be 25 feet from the intersection, which puts you in the curb cut. That's probably what.
Well, and there's also the driveway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Be right in
that's
the middle,
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Is there any parking for the Corolla area with this design?
Yes.
There
Yeah,
is
it
further
does
up.
continue. So this, I was trying to figure out actually where this might actually be, but there is still.
The shoulder narrows quite a bit there.
Yeah.
I bet you're only losing a spot or two.
You're not
Yes.
losing
Yeah,
much.
I mean, I was thinking
It
maybe
definitely narrows down.
Oh, they park
They do,
Yeah, they
but
do.
I mean, they're not.
Yeah,
They're
but
usually
Park
there.
illegally.
Right.
You're gonna lose about 4
Yeah.
cars worth
Yeah.
of leaving, I think, in that spot, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're
Let me
right.
see if I can just look where.
There.
Yeah.
For the teachers.
Sorry. This was the school.
This isn't nearly a picture.
See, they're below the parking now.
Right now, I mean, they did come further up, but this isn't a good picture. It kind of got cut off. I would say at most we lose 4 spaces.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, they do it.
That's helpful to see, because one of the things that's hard about Brattleboro, I think especially, is that there's not a ton of stuff to do with little kids. And so losing like the ability to go to access one of our parks would not be ideal.
That would not be good.
Is this the side there?
Yeah, I was thinking the overhead, one of the overheads was helpful.
So do you know if on any of these maps, the fire hydrant that is right there on Green Street is noted? I was trying to look for the parking.
No, it was not noted on any of these. Yeah, this is the existing condition, so.
If a sidewalk were at the point, would have, like you were saying, would there be a way to move the cut? Because I'm assuming that red line on the north side of their parking lot is a raised curve where the others are
Correct.
sloped out.
Yeah,
Could you
driveway,
swap
driveway,
some?
driveway.
Yeah, could you swap that around a little bit?
I asked that interest in that earlier, because that's something that could probably be worked into the design to
Right,
move
because
that.
again, you're saying they need to have certain distances for the crosswalks, you could adjust that then.
Yeah. I'm not sensing a good consensus on a couple of things. I hear some people advocating maybe more for the stanchions and planters. I don't, maybe it's a little bit more bike friendly. And then the others more interested in the raised island or some version that gets planted and is maybe more traffic calming to the vehicles. And then the crosswalk location there. There's been lots of pros and cons of different crosswalk locations, so.
I thought the argument for stanchions was just, that Liz thought we could as a community, try it out first.
No, I mean, I think.
Less expensively. Was there some bicycle related
We did that at,
argument for it
And Maple.
yeah,
as opposed to elevated?
it worked. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it could be done as phasing. I think I'm hearing some interest.
Yeah, I mean, the expense is really, really different, right? I mean,
Yes.
really,
Yeah, it
really
is.
different. It's significantly more expensive to have put in the curbs and stuff. And, I mean, I just think the stanchions would accomplish it cheaper and we could pay for it sooner and get it done.
And they
To
would
me,
be
it seems-
reflective. And
Yeah. And, forget the planters. I mean, I like the shade tree idea. I mean, planters is a nice idea, but it's okay. It is a park right there. I mean, there's a lot of green space, right, literally the little lawn sloping down. So,
Yes.
I remembered my other question. It was about construction. So when they did work on High Street, we had the construction people parking in our lot.
Yes, so did I.
Yeah. And we can't do that. Like, we're super busy, especially right now, it's tire season. And then in the spring, it's tire season again. Like, we're always super busy. So I want to know how the construction's going to work with that, because we can't have people parking anywhere in the lot. And then it's going to cut even more on parking. And it's just going to back it up more. So what's the plan?
It's too soon to be able to tell you that. We don't
There's no
have a plan yet. No, we don't have a
But I mean,
plan.
they wouldn't.
I mean, the
park in your
town,
lot.
yeah. I mean,
I don't
the town
know
wouldn't.
who that was, but they shouldn't have been parking in your lot. I think it was probably that private sewer line project that
Yes, it
happened
was.
down the
Yeah.
hill.
The town or its contractors would
Would
not be
not,
parking in private.
We just had the town park in our lot before while working around that area. So I just want to be clear that, like,
Well, if that happens, you should definitely give us a call.
yeah, I didn't know how to tell them, and we're like, hey, you can't park here, like, this is a business, but I just wanted to know if there was a plan for that to not happen.
There's no plan to construct anything at this point. So. We would definitely be mindful of that.
I like that idea of that, I forgot who mentioned it, but you come around and rather than having this Y section thing here, you actually come around and then stop and then you make the hard turn and then that all becomes a big punch out or a big,
Yeah, curb bulldog.
yeah, I like that. I don't know how that would work from a traffic, like if the traffic intrusion, but I like that idea. They have to slow down and make a actual deliberate. Because right now they just flow.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Not even a curve thing, actually like a hard.
this here, I mean, it's definitely worth, the added benefit of this is even more narrowing for those coming down Green Street, so it's more traffic calming to the vehicles. But we could definitely chat about that with the engineers. Maybe it ends up being a little less expensive. Have a conversation. Maybe it accomplishes the same thing. But then there was some concerns about pulling out left, so we'll have them look at that.
Slow down the western.
Yeah.
Is there a projected time frame for all of this?
There's not, at this point, we don't have the budget for construction. The engineers, we're gonna work to refine this. Maybe we'll have another, get it out there for people to comment on before it gets finalized with, construction detail. And then so no timeline at this point. But, it is a concern. It's an intersection that, we've been aware of for a long time, having these safety concerns, so. Kevin.
Just one other thought, thinking about the
Thank you for coming.
seasonality and the snow. Have you guys at DPW have any preference for plowing and where the snow ends up in either of these scenarios?
No, I mean, I think consideration has been taken in for the radiuses. I mean, it's going to slow us down like anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to result in less plowing.
Okay. Yeah.
I think a curved option, would be more permanent.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea of, something piloting something until we can figure out how we're gonna accomplish that.
Sure.
Yeah, because actually with expansions and with plowing, you'd plow right into the area where the bicycles would want to be cutting through, therefore they would be back to being on the street. But that happens in the winter anyway. That's it's okay. Yeah.
It doesn't snow anymore, so.
I know, right.
Are there any other comments or questions or anything else you want us to consider? I appreciate you all coming tonight. If you left your email address and you want to be, kept in the loop, if you don't want to be, maybe just put a star and otherwise I will. When we have your plans, I'll send it out.
When you update the plans?
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure I can work something out if that's the desire to show.
Well, you'll definitely be communicating with it.
Yeah.
To everyone.
Yes,
You
I
have to. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Whether it's a separate meeting or maybe it happens during traffic safety committee or select board meeting, maybe it's a presentation to them. So we'll figure out a way.
Thank you so much for starting to think about it, though. This is really appreciated.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Very much.
You're welcome. Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Sue.